Unlocking divine energy. 12 miraculous steps to manifest supernatural healing and answered prayer. Mary knelt in the hushed chapel, a sacred stone sanctuary where time felt suspended, her heart heavy with anguish. The flickering candles cast dancing shadows upon the walls, illuminating the faces of saints, their gazes filled with divine compassion. Every evening, she came here, clutching her rosary as if it were a lifeline, whispering fervent pleas to the heavens for her beloved son, David, who lay ill at home, his laughter silenced by a mysterious ailment. Darkness encircled her mother's heart, cold and creeping, as whispers from the village crept into her soul, sowing seeds of doubt. Is it truly prayer that brings healing? They murmured, their skepticism echoing in her mind. She felt the weight of their judgment, heavy as a leaden sky, but she pressed on, believing that somewhere between the whisper of her voice and the distant glimmering stars lay a miracle waiting to be unlocked. Father Thomas, she murmured, heart racing, you speak of divine steps. Please, lead me. The priest, wise and kind, offered her a pathway, a scriptural journey of 12 miraculous steps, meant to open the floodgates of divine grace. But nights turned into weeks, and despite her fervent prayers, David's breaths grew shallower, like flames flickering in a bitter wind. Faced with trembling faith, Mary wrestled with despair. Each day she gathered a few brave friends for prayer vigils, their voices uniting with hers like a chorus in the night, echoing hope against the backdrop of scoffing villagers. Some watched with pity, some with quiet scorn, but Mary refused to succumb. Her voice grew stronger, fueled by desperate longing, and the chapel sang back her prayers as the candles burned low. Then, as the feast day of St. Jude approached, stirring something ancient in the village, hearts softened as villagers began to share tales of miraculous intercessions. Collective faith began to swell like a rising tide, and Mary, emboldened, saw a twinkle of hope amidst the shadows. Before we continue, she thought, understanding that shared belief might be the key to unlock divine energy, I need to share something important with you all. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you enjoy this, click the bell for all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me honestly. It makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'd love to know who's on this journey with me. Now, let us continue. The morning of the feast dawned, and the villagers gathered, hearts united, a tapestry of whispered prayers floating upwards like incense. Mary felt the air thrum with divine anticipation, as if the heavens themselves held their breath. As David lay amidst floral blessings, a sudden warmth enveloped him, a golden light seeping through the cracks into the room, bathing the villagers in holy radiance. Gasps arose, glances exchanged. Was this an answer? A sign? Mary's heart pounded, a rhythm of hope and fear. As the light danced around David, the atmosphere thickened with divine promise, and her dreams tangled with reality. Could their prayers have summoned this miraculous moment? The village watched, breaths caught, faith wavering. Could it be true? Would this be the turning point for David? As the air crackled with uncertainty and possibility, Mary knelt in fervency, her heart a vessel of reverent expectation. What awaited them beyond this moment? Would they witness a miracle, or watch as faith faltered in silence? The answer hung, delicate as gossamer, just beyond reach. As the golden light shimmered, time seemed to pause. The villagers held their breath, eyes fixated on the tender face of young David. Mary, her hands trembling, felt as if she were gazing upon holiness itself. With a heart full of demand, she pleaded silently for the invisible forces to converge, to draw near. The warmth radiating from David felt extraordinary, as if angelic hands were cradling him. His eyelids fluttered, caught in an awakening dance. The silence was a canvas, painted with the hopes and prayers of countless souls. Mary blinked back tears, not of despair, but of ignited faith. Jesus, she whispered, let him rise. Let our dreams of restoration be more than whispers in the night. Her voice trembled, but the congregation felt the resolve of her spirit, and a wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. A villager called out, "What is happening? Do you see?" Her words fell into reverent awe, echoing the disbelief gathering in the hearts around her. Each throat tightened with an amalgamation of love, fear, and an overwhelming desire for healing. David's body glowed, and suddenly, his hand twitched. One by one, eyes widened, hearts began thrumming in sync. Mary's spirit soared, and dipped hope was an exhilarating dance. Yet doubt shadowed every leap. The villagers, previously skeptical, now clung to a belief ignited by this sacred spectacle, as if responding to their collective faith. The golden light flickered, then steadied, diffusing warmth that stretched into the very marrow of their beings. Mary felt tears pool in her eyes, a blend of joy and confusion. Her heart a battlefield between what she was witnessing and the doubts that crept in from the corners of her mind. Is this real? She thought. Is it truly God's touch? Doubt's whisper echoed harshly even amidst this miracle. But Mary gathered the courage from every prayer she'd uttered. With renewed fervor, she called to the congregation, "Brothers and sisters, let us join together. We must proclaim his goodness." The people responded, voices rising in harmony. A symphony of seekers declaring their trust in the Holy Potter. "Lord, renew his body and spirit," they cried in unison, a chorus of hope. Mary felt energy pulse around them, clarity flooding her mind. It was then she realized miracles were not merely personal but communal. They thrived in unity. As the villagers prayed, the atmosphere shifted, energies intertwining as though the very air quaked in divine promise. David's eyelids parted fully, revealing eyes luminous with wonder. For a moment, they locked onto Mary's gaze, an unspoken connection flowing between mother and son, a bridge between agony and healing. Then, in a voice husky with the remnants of sleep, David called out, "Mother, I feel different." Those words wrapped around Mary, and a rush of warmth filled her heart, like a tide of hope breaking against the shores of despair. But as joy threatened to overwhelm, a fleeting thought pulled at her the fragility of this moment. Just beneath rapture lay the unseen trials yet to come. The villagers exchanged glances. It was clear they shared in this instantaneous miracle. Yet beyond joyous exclamations, doubts lingered like shadows in the recesses of their minds. Mary knew they stood at a crucial crossroads, a testament to divine energy, yet a reminder of faith's constant trial. What next? She wondered, a question hanging in the air like a promise. With a glance toward heaven, she sensed a deeper understanding blossoming within her. Would their faith sustain this miracle? Was the healing just the beginning? As the light continued to shimmer, echoing the heartbeats of the villagers, Mary felt a stirring within her spirit. Ancient questions awaited answers, and a journey lay ahead, one encompassing not only her son's healing but the faith of the entire village. What were the true depths of their devotion? Would this experience reshape their hearts forever? The path ahead felt uncharted yet illuminated by divine potential. As the golden light faded into a warm glow, the villagers steadied themselves, their breaths still shallow but filled with a renewed sense of purpose. David, now fully awake, cast about the crowd, sensing their collective hope. A murmur of awe swept through the villagers as the realization sank in they had witnessed something extraordinary. Mary approached her son, her heart pounding. "David," she whispered, her voice trembling with love and disbelief, "can you tell us what you feel? What has happened?" He blinked slowly, eyes clearing as if waking from a long slumber. "I feel alive, Mother, like all the heaviness that held me down has lifted." His smile, radiant and pure, became a beacon of light, illuminating the worried faces of the villagers as David spoke. A wave of emotion rippled through the gathering. The villagers exited their own fears and doubts, lifting their hands in gratitude. Some cried out praises. Others fell to their knees, overwhelmed by the gravity of answered prayers. Mary looked around, recognizing the power of witnessing this miracle together. She felt the air thrum with energy, pulsing in rhythm with their collective faith. It was a tapestry woven from countless souls, a kaleidoscope of hope and determination. "Brothers and sisters," she called, her voice strong and steady. "This is our moment. We must not only celebrate this miraculous healing but also seek understanding. Why has God revealed His glory to us? What lesson lies within this divine encounter?" A man named Eli stepped forward, his face etched with concern, revealing the doubt buried deep within his heart. "But what if this healing falters? What if doubt creeps back in?" Mary felt the weight of his words. "Doubt is the antithesis of faith," she replied gently. "We must embrace both the joy of this moment and the vulnerability of our spirits. God calls us to trust Him, even in uncertainty." The villagers listened intently, and one by one, they began to share their own fears and hopes. Some spoke of illness, others of loss, each confessing the battles they faced in their quiet lives. Their voices mingled, creating an atmosphere pregnant with sincerity as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of gold and lavender. Mary recognized that they were not simply celebrating a miracle. They were stepping into a new reality. David's healing was not just a gift for their son, but an invitation for the entire village to deepen their faith. Miracles awaken something within us, a hunger for more of God's presence. Together, with hearts aligned, we can sustain this miracle and allow it to flourish, she urged, her voice soaring above the murmurs. Let us commit to nurturing one another's faith and encouraging the transformation that is beginning in our hearts. The villagers nodded, inspired by her passionate plea. They began to form small circles, sharing their personal prayers aloud. Each sound transformed the air, a mixture of supplication and rejoicing. With every word, they created a deeper bond, igniting a flame of unity. As night fell, stars began to shimmer overhead. Mary lifted her gaze, wonder filling her heart. Could this be the beginning of something greater? The villagers seemed more alive than ever. Their faith had taken root and flourished in the wake of David's miraculous return. Yet as joy coursed through them, the questions lingered like shadows in the night. What would it take to maintain this fire? Would they manage to weave faith seamlessly into the fabric of their daily lives? Or was this healing merely a fleeting moment? As Mary pondered, a sudden silence fell over the group. They turned their eyes to David, whose expression now turned solemn. What if I, too, face trials ahead? What must I do to walk in this new life? His query resonated through the crowd, striking at the very heart of their shared experience. In that moment, beneath the vastness of the midnight sky, Mary sensed the profound power of vulnerability and courage. The journey of faith was just beginning, and the road ahead would hold challenges and revelations alike. What might they discover about faith when faced with trials? How would they respond to the life-changing energy that had ignited within them? With hope and trepidation, they steeled themselves for the path ahead. A divine adventure awaited, and each step could lead them deeper into his heart. David's question hung in the air, heavy with anticipation. The villagers shared cautious glances, their hearts racing at the prospect of the unknown. Mary sensed their unity, yet along with it, a tremor of uncertainty rippled through the crowd. Was this newfound faith solid enough to endure the trials ahead? Friends, Mary began, her voice soft yet firm, life is a journey. We will face valleys as well as mountains. But remember this, each trial brings us closer to understanding our Creator's heart. David stood tall, a mix of childlike wonder and newfound maturity reflecting in his eyes. I want to understand, Mother. I want to know how to navigate this new life. What does it mean to keep faith alive? Her heart swelled with pride as she watched her son transform through this experience. We will learn together. Faith is not just a feeling but an active choice. In moments of doubt, we can turn our hearts towards prayer. We may find strength in our community. She gestured to the villagers around them, each face illuminated by the flickering glow of hope. One woman, her voice trembling, asked softly, "What if our prayers don't seem answered? What if our efforts fall short?" Mary approached her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. In those moments, we must trust the process. Sometimes God answers in ways we do not expect. It's not for us to understand every twist and turn, but to remain steadfast and open. The villagers were nodding, feeling the weight of Mary's words sink into their hearts. Each shared fear seemed to dissolve, replaced with a flicker of determination. The murmur of hope began to rise again, filling the space with a tranquil energy. "Let us form a bond," declared Eli. "Let us gather each day, share our struggles, and lift each other up. We can pray for strength and guidance together." "Yes," echoed another villager. "Together we are stronger. We can learn to walk this path hand in hand." With every affirmative nod, the group felt empowered. It was as if their voices intertwined and forged a sturdy rope of faith that could withstand the trials they might encounter. As the stars twinkled more brightly overhead, a divine peace washed over them. Yet, amid the comfort, Mary felt a stirring in her spirit. If they were to be truly transformed, wouldn't their trials require a deeper commitment? "What if we also commit to serving others?" she suggested. "In giving, we might discover more about the nature of love and strength. Imagine how our faith might ripple outward, affecting those beyond our village." A gasp rolled through the crowd. Elias' eyes widened with excitement. "We could help the sick. We could share our stories with neighboring villages." Each idea ignited a spark, igniting their imaginations and igniting dreams of a larger purpose. They were not just a village anymore, they were a beacon of hope, standing at the threshold of something monumental. As they spoke of plans and dreams, David's heart filled with warmth. Yet, beneath that excitement lay a flicker of fear. But what if this stirs the anger of those who do not believe? What if they come against us? Mary placed an encouraging hand on his back. "Fear will always whisper in our ears, my son. The key is not to silence it, but to recognize it and move forward despite it. Our actions must be rooted in love." The villagers murmured in agreement, a wave of understanding settling over the group. They knew the road ahead was uncertain, but with their faith bound together, they were ready to embrace their divine calling. As the gathering began to break apart, energized by the prospects that lay ahead, Mary felt a surge of gratitude. The moment they had stepped into a new reality, where faith and action intertwined, had arrived. But as they turned to walk home, an unsettling question flowed through her mind. Were they truly prepared for the challenges ahead? What trials would stretch their faith and test their commitment? And would they rise to meet them, or would their newfound fire dim? With hearts full of faith and hope, they set forth into the night, unsure of the journey ahead but eager to walk it together. As the night deepened, Mary led David home, her heart fluttering between excitement and trepidation. The stars overhead shone brightly, as if trying to remind them of the promise of hope. But with each step, an ineffable weight tugged at her spirit. She could sense the challenges looming ahead, like shadows waiting just beyond the horizon. "Do you really think we can make a difference?" David asked, breaking the silence. His youthful face held a blend of belief and trepidation, reflecting the complex emotions swirling inside him. Mary paused, looking into his eyes. "Yes, my son. Every little act of kindness, every moment spent in love, can change the world. We must trust in the goodness we carry." As they entered their humble home, the familiar warmth enveloped them, yet the air felt different, crackled with the energy of change. The flickering of the candlelight illuminated their faces, weaving shadows that danced across the walls, echoing their unspoken thoughts. The next morning dawned bright and clear. The villagers gathered again, each eager to share ideas. They formed circles under the large oak tree, its branches stretching like arms, ready to embrace the future. Mary stood at the center, energized by the spirit of commitment that filled the air. "Today we mark the beginning of something bigger," she proclaimed, her voice rising above the murmurs of enthusiasm. "Let us create a schedule for our service to the community. From helping the elderly to planting seeds for next year's harvest, our hands will be instruments of grace." Excitement bubbled within the crowd. Eli suggested, "What if we set up a gathering place where we can share our struggles, our joys, and our prayers? A sanctuary where everyone is welcome?" The villagers nodded in agreement, an echo of hope rising in affirmation of their mission. It was clear that with every passing moment, Their faith blossomed into various manifestations of love and action. However, amid their zeal, David's heart wrestled with doubt. But what if it isn't enough? What if our efforts fall flat? This doesn't seem like the grand act of faith I pictured. Mary knelt beside him, her eyes filled with understanding. True faith isn't about grand gestures, David. It's in the quiet moments when we choose to love, serve, and forgive without expecting anything in return. That's where miracles begin. Just like small seeds grow into towering trees. As they shared stories and formed plans, an old man approached the gathering. His face was lined with worry, the weight of years etched in the deep grooves of his brow. Can faith move mountains? Can it heal my failing body? Mary stepped forward, her heart reaching out to him. Faith can do more than we imagine. Let us gather around you and pray, believing for healing and strength. As they encircled him, hands laid gently upon his shoulders, a serene hush fell over the group. Mary's heart raced as she poured out her prayers, inviting the Spirit to fill the void and weave its miracle in that space. The old man's eyes glistened as he listened, and faith began to stir within him. Suddenly, a gentle wind swept through the crowd, causing the leaves to rustle in unison. The moment felt sacred, yet it was quickly replaced by the reminder of what they had embarked upon. What if what we face tomorrow shakes this new faith? David whispered, his fear creeping in like an unwanted fog. Mary smiled gently, remembering that faith is often tested in the fiercest of storms. Then we face it together. With our hearts united, we will bend but not break. It will refine us, not define us. The sun began to set, casting a golden glow that embraced the villagers. Little did they realize that soon, a significant test of their faith would come. One that would challenge their hearts, their resolve, and their beliefs. What awaited them would reveal the true depths of their faith. How prepared would they be to embrace the unknown? The sun peeked over the hills, casting rays of warmth across the village as Mary gathered the villagers once more. There was a palpable sense of expectation in the air. Today felt different. It held the promise of a divine encounter. But with that promise came an undercurrent of anxiety, which danced through the hearts of those who had pledged their commitment to one another and to their shared mission. Good morning, beloved community, Mary called out, her voice tinged with an urgency that seemed to resonate among the gathered crowd. Today, let us not only act in service but also invite the Spirit into our hearts and homes, so that we can move mountains together. A murmur of excitement rippled through the villagers, yet David stood at the fringe of the crowd, wrestling with an inner storm. He wanted to believe wholeheartedly, but doubts whispered insistently in his mind, creating chaos in moments of divine intention. Trust, David, Mary said softly as she caught his eye. Remember, faith is a journey. We don't always see the road ahead clearly, but every step taken in love is marked in eternity. David nodded, feeling the warmth of her reassurance, but a heaviness remained in his heart. As the group began to split into smaller teams, working on various tasks from preparing meals for the elderly to organizing prayer vigils, a figure appeared at the edge of the gathering. It was a young woman, her eyes clouded with sorrow. She approached hesitantly, her presence stirring an unexpected stillness within the group. "Excuse me," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "I've heard of the good works you're doing. I am in need of help." Mary stepped forward, her heart instantly drawn to the young woman. "Tell us your story," she urged gently, inviting her into the circle of warmth and compassion that they had cultivated. Tears flowed down the woman's cheeks as she spoke of her ailing father, trapped in despair and sickness. "I fear that soon he may leave this world," she confessed, her voice breaking. "I have tried everything, but I no longer know what to do." Pain and compassion rippled through the crowd, connecting each heart in a thread of shared humanity. "Let us pray for him," Mary declared, determination shining in her eyes. "We will join our faith together, believing for healing. You are not alone. We are family." As the villagers formed a circle, arms reaching out to envelop the young woman in solidarity, a holy hush settled around them. David felt a stirring inside, one that compelled him to place his hand on the young woman's shoulder. He closed his eyes and could feel the warmth of the collective faith rising, a spirit of hope woven together in their small circle. "Lord," Mary breathed, her voice strong yet tender, "we ask that your healing touch flow like a river to this family. Restore health, bring fortitude, and let faith burst forth like flowers in spring." With each word, the winds began to awaken again, swirling gently around them, carrying their prayers toward the heavens. David opened his eyes, and for the first time, doubt felt like a distant shadow as he found comfort in the strength of their collective faith. Something shifted in the atmosphere. The sunlight dimmed momentarily, but a bright light flickered in the center of the circle, sparking the senses and igniting hope. "May his light guide you," Mary said, her voice rising above the whispers of uncertainty. Yet in that moment of prayerful unity, a distant thunder rumbled, mingling with the joy that bloomed within. David turned toward the horizon, sensing that something greater was at play. The villagers, now filled with fervor, prepared to face whatever challenge was to come. But David couldn't help but wonder what tests of faith had the winds of change brought. Would they stand firm when shadows loomed large? As they finished their prayers and felt the Spirit swell among them, the gentle rustling of leaves carried a whisper. What if the healing they sought was just the beginning and not the end? As the villagers stepped back from their prayer circle, a shared silence hung in the air like dew on the morning grass. David felt the tremor of hope settling softly within him, intertwining with the doubt that had lingered for far too long. The young woman, now encircled by the warmth of community, looked up at Mary with gratitude shimmering in her tear-filled eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling yet strengthened by the assurance that enveloped her. "I can feel something changing." Mary smiled, her heart buoyed by the sight. "This is what community is for. Together we bear one another's burdens, sharing in faith, love, and healing." The day began buzzing with renewed purpose. Villagers moved with a spark in their step, laughter mingling with the echo of their prayers. David found himself swept into this wave, helping to prepare meals alongside those who once felt like strangers. As he chopped vegetables and stirred pots, he marveled at the energy filling the air, an undercurrent of joy and expectation that tethered everyone in the moment. Every now and then, David glanced toward the young woman, now named Elia, as she spoke with others about her father. Each interaction seemed to fortify her, as if a fragile light was beginning to bloom within her. He felt an overwhelming urge to approach her, to share his own battle with faith. "Do you really believe that he can heal?" he asked, tentatively placing the spoon down. Elia looked at him, her eyes reflecting a vulnerability that spoke volumes. "I have to believe it," she replied. "Otherwise, what do I have left? I can't let despair win." Her words seeped into David's heart, filling the cracks that had formed under the weight of his own uncertainty. What if we believe hard enough, and nothing changes?" he questioned, the fear surfacing again. "Then we rejoice in what we have," she answered gently. "What if our faith is the very thing that brings change for him and for all of us?" David felt a flicker of inspiration kindled in that moment. Elia's faith was not naive. It was raw and brave, pulsing with the rhythm of life. As the sun danced across the sky, casting shimmering hues of gold and amber, the village prepared for the evening gathering, a time dedicated to sharing stories of hope and faith. Mary, ever a beacon of encouragement, urged everyone to open their hearts and share their own struggles, their own victories. Each story shared felt like kindling for the fire of community spirit. The miraculous seemed closer with every testimony, each word whispering of the divine. David listened as older villagers recounted tales of loss turned to gain and sickness unfurled into health. With each narrative, David felt his own heart stir. When his turn came, he stood tall. "Sometimes I feel lost," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "But I choose to believe that God's love is greater than my doubts." Energy buzzed through the crowd as they nodded and murmured sympathetic words. The warmth of acceptance wrapped around him. What if this shared experience healed more than just wounds? What if it ignited something greater than themselves? As the gathering moved into prayer again, David raised his heartfelt cries to the heavens alongside his community. He felt the connection deepen, and in that sacred moment, he let go of the weight of uncertainty. Suddenly, the playful wind stirred once more, whipping their prayers toward the vast expanse of sky, pulling something elemental from within them. Each whisper, each word, carried intention as they prayed specifically for Eliah's father. A sudden thunderous clap shook the air, startling David from his prayers. Was it a sign? The villagers exchanged glances filled with both excitement and trepidation. "Have faith," Mary called, confidence ringing in her voice. But David realized that God had not abandoned them. His presence was alive in the very fabric of their gathering. Could the storm bring renewal? As they continued to pray, an unanswerable question lingered. What would emerge from this clash of divine possibility and human desperation? Each heart beat in sync with the feeling that something remarkable was unfolding, but what would the winds of change ultimately reveal? As the wind howled around them, whipping leaves and dust into spirals, David felt the surge of emotions swell within him, a wild mixture of fear and exhilaration. The thunder rumbled again, as if the heavens themselves were joining in their prayer, amplifying each plea sent upward from their hearts. The air crackled with a sense of impending change, a tangible reminder of God's presence in their midst. The villagers stood in unison, the power of their belief shifting the atmosphere. Mary, ever the charismatic encourager, clasped her hands and raised her voice above the chaos. Together, let us focus on the love that binds us. Let us envision healing not just for Eliah's father, but for all who suffer among us. Her words reverberated like a song, calling forth the strength of the community. Eliah, her spirit rekindled by the shared fervor, stepped forward, her eyes alight with determination. "We must remember the stories we've heard today," she implored. "Let us carry them with us, allowing our faith to transform our doubts into strength. We cannot waver now." The villagers echoed their agreement, voices rising in harmony, weaving an intricate tapestry of faith and hope that reached high beyond the stormy clouds above. David watched their faces, their expressions fierce with belief and expectation. Each heart was a vessel, brimming with the joy of hope, a sight that ignited something profound within him. In that moment, he understood. Faith was not merely about the outcome but the journey taken together. Navigating the paths of longing and fear side by side, they were not alone. Eliah's father could mirror the struggles they all faced. Their silent battles turned into song and prayer before the Almighty. "Let us not stop here," David shouted, his own passion boiling over. "Let's commit our stories to one another, each narrative, a thread woven into the fabric of our lives." He felt the weight of their collective yearning surge through him, a spirit of unity that felt both exhilarating and sacred as they began to share again. Voices layered like gentle waves breaking against the shore. A grandmother recounted her struggles with loneliness, how the warmth of community made her feel alive once more. A father spoke about the uncertainties of providing for his family, yet how prayers had turned into unforeseen provision. Each account was a spark, igniting renewed energy among the villagers. Then, just as David thought the evening could not hold any more power, a zap of lightning split the sky. It illuminated Eliah's face, and in that flash, he saw more than hope. He saw courage and the understanding that miracles often felt elusive and daunting, just like this storm. Mary called for silence as their prayers climber higher. They leaned into the wind, daring to believe in its promises. "Let us ask boldly. Our God is a God of miracles." With fervent cries, they petitioned for Eliah's father, a moment of unwavering expectation swirling through them. Suddenly David felt an inexplicable warmth envelop him. It rushed through him in waves, spreading his fingers into the air. Encouraged, he focused deeply on the image of healing. It felt almost palpable as the prayer subsided. A calmness draped itself over the village, as if the storm had paused to listen. An expectant hush settled among them, filling the space with possibility. But suddenly, in that sacred silence, an unexpected sound pierced the air, a soft, fragile rustling coming from the path leading to Eliah's house. All eyes turned toward the sound, hearts beating wildly with a mix of dread and excitement. What was emerging from the shadows? What lay ahead, just out of sight, challenging their faith and bringing them closer to a divine encounter? David's breath caught in his throat, and he felt the unmistakable pull of divine mystery hovering just beyond the horizon. As silence enveloped the villagers, the rustling intensified. A shiver ran through the crowd. David took a step closer, his heart hammering with anticipation. He could feel the collective pulse of hope thrumming in the air, as if the very earth beneath their feet was alive with expectation. What is that?" Elia whispered, her voice trembling just above the whispering wind. Her eyes, wide with wonder, darted toward the shadows, seeking clarity amidst the mystery. Just then, from the darkened path, a figure began to take shape. A man staggered into the wavering light cast by the flickering lanterns, his frame bent but his spirit still alight. It was Elia's father. The villagers gasped collectively, a wave of disbelief rippling through them. "Father!" Elia shouted, rushing toward him, her voice ringing with both joy and disbelief. David watched as she reached him, her trembling fingers clasping his hands. The bonds of love were strong and evident, and a powerful current surged between them. He could see the weariness etched into her father's face, shadows of suffering revealing the toll taken on his body. Yet, in that moment, as their hands touched, something marvelous radiated from their connection, an energy that seemed to shimmer in the air. "Praise be!" Mary exclaimed, her voice a clarion call echoing in the newfound stillness. "Look at what our prayers have brought." David felt a swell of emotion wash over him. This was it, the manifestation of hope. Miracles weren't just whispers of wishful thinking. They were real and tangible. He stepped forward, feeling the awe of the crowd gathering behind him. Each face lit up with a desperate yearning for truth. "Can you speak?" David asked, his voice steady but edged with urgency. "How do you feel?" Elia's father opened his mouth, but only a raspy breath escaped at first. Gradually, he straightened, the years of pain seeming to lift from his shoulders. "There was darkness, but I heard you, I felt your prayers, they called me back." His voice grew stronger with each word. "I felt a warmth, a light illuminating my path." Tears flowed freely now, not only from Elia but from many in the gathered crowd. Their own experiences of faith and hardship intertwined, knitting their hearts together more closely than before. "What does it mean?" someone from the back murmured, unable to contain the wonder that was bubbling to the surface. "It means," David replied, his heart soaring, "that love transcends even the darkest places. It means that our faith, our collective prayers, have reached beyond what we can see. God is faithful." The questions that had once loomed heavy like storm clouds began to lift. They understood now that this moment wasn't just about healing one man. It was a reminder of their shared journey, their communal hope. They had been transformed by their faith and by each other. Elia's father, sensing the swell of their belief, took a shaky step forward. "I am here. I am healed. Let us not forget that together we can weather any storm." Lightning flickered once more in the distant sky, but now it felt more like a friend joining their celebration. The wind picked up, lifting their voices higher as they began to sing, their harmony spilling into the night like a living prayer. But just as they began to fully surrender in worship, a flicker of hesitation emerged. What if this miracle wasn't the end but merely the beginning? What more awaited them on this divinely illuminating path? As the last notes faded away, David felt that familiar tug of the unseen, drawing them deeper still. What is next? He wondered, shivering in anticipation. What further revelations does God have for us? Uncertainty mixed with joy, a curious blend that kept their hearts hungry for more. What would they discover as they continued to seek together? The night held mysteries, and David sensed they were only on the precipice of a greater journey. As the villagers erupted into joyful celebration, the echoes of their song drifted into the sky, harmonizing with the stars above. Mary looked around, her heart swelling with gratitude. She had gathered not just her friends but family bound together by faith, hope, and an undeniable connection. David, still holding a space of joy amid the lingering questions, felt a profound shift inside him. Elia's father stood there, alight with grace. Each breath he took a testament to their collective prayers. "We are just beginning," he declared, and like fire catching in dried leaves, the truth ignited in hearts far and wide. The village was no longer mere neighbors. It was a living testament to God's power through unity. "Let us not forget," Mary commanded gently, her voice rising above the jubilant noise. "This miracle serves a greater purpose. We have tasted something wonderful. A spark was ignited by our faith, yes, but sustaining that flame demands of us a commitment." Her words resonated deeply, piercing through the elation, reshaping it into determination as the celebration carried on. David glanced at Elia, her eyes shining bright with newfound hope. "We journey together now," he offered, reaching for her hand to share in the warmth that radiated between them. "What can we do next?" Their voices were not alone. They were infused with the spirit of the crowd, together forming ripples of purpose in the tranquil waters of faith. Mary stepped forward again, gathering their attention. "This is not merely an end. It is our commissioning to go deeper into acts of love. Let us forge alliances with neighboring villages, share our testimonies, love the broken, and be vessels of God's light." Excitement buzzed through the crowd like a current. Eli raised his hands. "Yes, we can extend this healing beyond ourselves. Our faith can ripple outwards." One by one, villagers began to contribute, sharing their dreams of service and love. Ideas flowed like sweet honey, building a center for the homeless, tending to the sick, organizing harvest festivals, combining labor with joy and the electricity of that moment. David felt as if the questions that lingered were not uncertainties, but holy invitations to explore faith in action. As the villagers began to form a plan, he caught sight of Mary kneeling silently, her hands clasped in prayer. There was solemnity in her presence that drew him closer. "What do you see?" he asked, kneeling beside her. "I see a tapestry, David," she replied, her voice soft yet filled with power. "Each strand represents lives touched and transformed. We start weaving in our love, faith, and acts of grace. What we witness today is merely the beginning of that beautiful design." A wave of warmth enveloped David, erasing his doubts. He turned back to the crowd, a frenzy of animated discussions and plans, and felt the rush of hope washing over them all again. "Let us plan our first act of service," he suggested, his voice growing in strength and clarity. "Let us bring food and joy to our neighbors who are hurting. We can foster our love together." The villagers cheered, their energy surging as they excitedly made arrangements. Mary stood, smiling at the fervor igniting within them. "Remember, we can accomplish great things, but we must lean on Him in all things." Elia's father raised his voice, weathered yet vibrant. "I want to help too. My experience can lend comfort to others who struggle." The crowd roared in approval. His words ignited flickers of courage from others too. David's heart danced merrily. Each step they had taken, the prayers, the miracles, the very essence of hope gathering strength, was leading them towards a reality where their faith had the power to heal. Each conversation orbited around the promise of new gatherings, new endeavors, and greater acts of love manifesting from their shared experience. Later, as the embers of celebration faded into the deepening night, a profound peace settled over the village. David found himself sitting beside Mary, gazing upward at the stars. "What if we face trials again?" he asked softly, the shadows of worry creeping back in. Mary smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Then we will lean into them together, my son. Remember, faith does not eliminate struggles. Rather, it allows us to navigate them with community. Trials deepen understanding and bind us closer. But what if we falter?" he asked, vulnerability threading through his words. "Then we ask for help and we rise again. Faith is a shared journey. We do not carry the load alone." A newfound strength filled David's chest. His heart surged with understanding. Their faith was not simply for their personal healing, but embraced an extraordinary call that extended into the corners of their community and beyond. In that sacred silence, Mary whispered a prayer of gratitude, thankful for transformation and divine purpose. ushering in a season of renewed commitment to navigate uncertainty together. The night glimmered with potential, each star a reminder of the vastness of Goddess Grace. As dawn approached, a gentle light broke over the horizon, each ray bringing clarity and purpose. They were just beginning this beautiful journey, where miracles wouldn't merely be moments, but lives continuously transformed by divine energy through every act of service. Together, they would traverse trials and triumphs. Together, they would manifest hope. This was their story, the unfolding tapestry of faith, love, and unwavering belief. And now it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the blessings flowing. Comment your reactions to this heartwarming ending, share your own testimonies, and most importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this manifestation of hope. Let us take this journey together. Don't wait even one more second to show your support. Only true servants of God understand the importance of spreading the light.